My name is Grace. I've been teaching at this elementary school for 17 years. My classroom is at the end of the third-floor hallway with a window facing the old oak. Every autumn, acorns fall to the ground and the kids stuff their pockets full of them. I always pretend not to notice. They hide those acorns in their school bags, pencil cases, and even trouser pockets. Their moms always find them when doing laundry. The next day, the kids will run up to me and say, "Miss Grace, Mom said if you let us pick up acorns again, she's coming to the school to talk to you. Then tell your mom to bring me a cup of coffee when she comes." This little conversation has repeated itself for countless autumns, and I thought it would go on forever. My husband Alan is the principal of this school. Everyone said we were the perfect couple in the education field. No one could have guessed that the bedroom of this model couple hadn't had both lights on at the same time for a long while. He came home later and later wearing a perfume that wasn't mine. I pretended not to smell it, and he pretended he wasn't cheating. My termination notice arrived on a Thursday afternoon. That morning, I'd just finished grading Jake's composition. Jake is a boy with mild ADHD. His handwriting looks like earthworms crawling across the page, but he told me,
"Miss Grace, I want to be a writer someday."
I circled a few misspelled words in red pen, draw a smiley face in the margin, and wrote right next to it, "You absolutely will be."
Miss Grace drew a smiley face for me.
The other kids crowded around to look. Emily said, "I want a smiley face too." And I told her, "First, neat up your handwriting." The classroom was filled with loud laughter that day, all the way out into the hallway. Alan didn't come himself. He had Vice Principal Linda leave an envelope on my desk. When I opened it, the letter read, "Due to misalignment of teaching methods with school philosophy, your contract will not be renewed upon review." I read those words 3 times. It wasn't fear, it was anger.
"Grace, Alan wants you to stop by his office before you leave. He has something to say to you in person."
I wasn't angry about being let go. I was angry that he didn't even have the courage to tell me to my face. I walked down the hallway I'd traveled for 17 years. The walls were covered with kids' artwork. One painting by Emily depicted spring, green grass, blue sky, a bright red sun, and next to it she wrote, "Miss Grace is the best teacher in the whole world." There was a tiny line underneath, "I want to be a teacher too when I grow up." I stood there staring at it for a few seconds, then kept walking. Alan's office door was open. He sat behind his desk and didn't stand up. On his desk sat a family photo we'd taken years ago. Benjamin was sitting on his shoulders, grinning from ear to ear. I didn't know what to say. He kept his head down, buried in paperwork.
"Grace, this is the school board's decision. Your teaching methods are outdated. The school needs new talent."
His voice was flat, like he was reading a report that had nothing to do with him. "New talent? You mean your niece? She just graduated from education school and hasn't even finished her student teaching. What makes her qualified to take my position? He looked up, and his eyes held a coldness I'd never seen in him before.
"She knows modern tech and new educational concepts. What do you know? All you do is coddle the kids with smiley faces."
Those words cut straight into me like a knife. 17 years, over 1,000 students, countless late nights grading papers, and all I got was, "All you do is coddle the kids with smiley faces."
"Alan, Benjamin won't stay 9 forever. He'll grow up and ask why his own father pushed his mom out of this school. What will you say to him then?"
"This isn't pushing you out. It's a staffing adjustment. Grace, don't mix personal feelings with work."
Personal feelings? Where was that line when you were cheating? Where was it when you handed my job to your niece? His silence was his only replier. I turned the family photo towards me, and Benjamin's bright smile stung my eyes.
"Alan, let's get divorced."
The divorce paperwork went through quickly. I only asked for full custody of our son. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting a bright patch across his face.
"Mom, are you crying?"
"No. It's just the wind."
There was no wind in the hallway. He knew I was lying, but he didn't call me out on it. A 9-year-old boy had already learned to accept things quietly. Alan moved out. He took a few boxes of books, his golf clubs, and his favorite winter coat. While I helped him pack, I found a shoebox tucked in the back of the closet. Inside were love letters from when we were dating, ticket stubs from our first movie date, and Benjamin's newborn handprint keepsake. Benjamin came home from school and saw the empty shelf space.
"Where's Dad?"
"He's away on a business trip."
He didn't press for more answers. He dropped his backpack and started his homework. I heard quiet sobbing coming from his bedroom. I didn't knock on his door. Some tears are meant to be cried alone. I was unemployed. I sent out dozens of resumes but barely got any responses. I was unemployed. I sent out dozens of resumes but barely got any responses. Interviewers asked why I left my last school. I told them it was a philosophical difference. When they pressed for details, I never mentioned Alan. It wasn't to protect him. I just didn't want my pain to become how others judged me. But word got around. Well-connected interviewers found out I'd been terminated, and their gazes turned hesitant.
Where's your mom?
A few days later, she knocked on our door with a homemade apple pie. She stepped inside and looked around. The living room was neat, but the kitchen sink was piled up with dirty dishes.
You don't have a housekeeper?
I can't afford one. She set down the pie, rolled up her sleeves, turned on the faucet, and started washing the dishes.
Don't say a word. Dishes have to get done either way.
I stood there watching her. She was older now, with age spots on her hands, but she washed dishes quickly and efficiently. After she left, I sat at the dining table. She washed dishes quickly and efficiently. After she left, I sat at the dining table. The apple pie was still warm. I cut a slice, and it tasted sweet. Tears fell onto the pie, mixing the sweetness with salt. During that time, I spent every day at the local cafe, ordering the cheapest black coffee and reading the classified job ads in the newspaper. The cafe owner was George, a chatty Greek-American man who loved asking personal questions. When he found out I'd lost my job, he said I could come work for him.
Make coffee?
You can just run the shop. The pay isn't great, but it'll cover your meals. Eat this, it's on the house.
I ate it quickly. I was afraid if I slowed down, I'd say yes to his offer. A turning point came out of nowhere. That afternoon, I went grocery shopping and ran into someone I knew at the checkout line, Jake's mom.
Mrs. Grace, are you still teaching?
No, I got let go.
If you're gone, what will Jake do?
Her eyes welled up. He refuses to go to school anymore. He says school isn't school without you. He skips class every day and his new teachers label him as a behavior problem. Jake was his nickname. The boy with ADHD, the boy with messy handwriting, the boy who dreamed of becoming a writer. I went home with her. The boy with ADHD, the boy with messy handwriting, the boy who dreamed of becoming a writer. I went home with her. Jake was huddled in the corner of his room, clutching that old composition paper. The red smiley face was still bright, and he'd traced over his line, "I want to be a writer someday," dozens of times. When he saw me, he froze for a second, then ran over and hugged me, crying.
Miss Grace, where did you go? Did you abandon us?
I didn't cry. I just patted his back gently. Jake, I didn't abandon any of you. I'm just looking for a new place to teach.
What kind of place?
I fell silent. That's right. What kind of place? That night, I stood alone in our garage, lost in thought. It was empty except for old storage bins, a Christmas tree, and dusty workout equipment. There was water seeping in the corner, and parts of the floor were warped. But as I stared at the space, an idea suddenly popped into my head. This isn't just a garage. It could be a classroom. Early the next morning, I started cleaning out the garage. I moved storage boxes down to the basement, disassembled and stored the Christmas tree, sold what workout gear I could, and gave the rest away.
What are you up to?
I'm opening a school.
What are you up to?
I'm opening a school.
A school in your garage? You've lost your mind.
Maybe I have. She climbed over the fence, helped me carry out the last of the clutter, then grabbed a hammer and nails from her shed to patch up the cracks in the wall. I bought 5 used desks, 1 chair, and a whiteboard from the second-hand market. The chair was broken, but Margaret fixed it, put on a new seat, and painted it sky blue. She carved a rose into the backrest. I hung a hand-painted wood by the door, messy and uneven, Theron classroom. On opening day, I waited the entire morning, and no one showed up. I sat in that chair, staring at the empty desks. Margaret brought me a cup of coffee and said, "Just wait a little longer."
Is this Miss Grace's school? It is.
Her name was Linda, a grocery store cashier. Her son Tyler was 9 years old and autistic. Public schools wouldn't take him, saying he couldn't integrate with other students. We went to 6 schools, but got turned down every single time. I saw your post online and drove an hour to bring my kid here. Could I pay the tuition later on credit? There's no tuition fee. As long as he's willing to come, I'm willing to teach him. Tyler sat in the corner clutching his backpack, avoiding eye contact with everyone, including me. He harried his face in his arms. I knelt down to meet his eye level, pulled out an orange-flavored candy from my pocket. I set the candy on his desk, reached out, unwrapped the candy, and ate it. That was our first little agreement. 1 piece of candy, in exchange for him sitting quietly at his desk. The next day, 2 more kids showed up. Jake stood at the door holding Emily's hand. Emily was a second-grade girl with dyslexia. Her old teachers labeled her slow. I knew dyslexia wasn't a sign of being intelligent. It's just a different way the brain process works. Her mom worked night shifts as a nurse and couldn't read. Kids teased her at school, and she refused to go back in tears.
Miss Grace, Emily wants to join too.
Come on in. We have plenty of space. Emily, you're not slow. You just learn differently from other kids. I'll teach you at your own pace. She looked up at me, tears glistening in her eyes, but she held them back. After school that day, I sat alone in the empty garage, pulled out a notebook, and wrote out a teaching plan. After school that day, I sat alone in the empty garage, pulled out a notebook, and wrote out a teaching plan. I didn't divide them by grade level. I divided them by their interests. Jake loved writing, so I had him keep a journal and write short stories with art. Emily rarely spoke, but he loved building blocks, so I used them to teach him numbers and shape. A week later, our third student arrived. Sophia was 8 years old, from a Mexican immigrant family, and she spoke no English at all. Her mom found me through a church friend and couldn't afford tuition.
Please take these in place of tuition.
She stared at the alphabet poster on the wall, then looked up at me. I said, "Hola." Her face lit up right away. Sophia picked up English quickly. Within a month, she'd simply say a single dog word. Jake wrote a new character into his story, a little girl who couldn't speak English, who drew with her fingers. She painted a tree covered in apples, and every apple stood for an English word. Emily drew illustrations for the story, and Tyler built the tree out of blocks. 4 kids, 4 different ways of creating, all working on the same project together. I taped their artwork to the wall and wrote underneath, "Created by all students of second classroom. Created by all students of second classroom." I was teaching the kids math with my phone on speakerphone. All the kids went quiet when they heard his voice.
A school in your garage? Grace, you really love stirring up trouble.
I picked up the phone and stepped outside.
What you're doing makes the school look bad. Parents are gossiping, saying you got fired for bad teaching methods.
Hand at the rose bushes in the backyard, their buds just starting to bloom. Alan, you don't get to decide if I'm acting recklessly. The kids do. As long as they want to come here, I'll keep teaching them. If you have a problem with it, file a complaint with the school district. Otherwise, don't waste my class time. Tyler spoke his first real word. That day, I pointed to the word apple on the whiteboard and taught him to say it. His lips moved, but no sound came out.
Apple.
I said the word again. His lips moved
You
once
can do
more,
it, Tyler.
still silent.
Apple.
His pronunciation was unclear, but every single one of us heard it.
Oh, apple.
Say it again for me.
Apple. Apple.
When school ended that day, Linda came to pick him up.
Apple.
She didn't say thank you. She just held Tyler tightly in her arms. I stood in the doorway, watching the sunset stretch their shadows long across the yard. That night, I sat at my desk writing lesson plans. My phone rang from an unknown number.
Miss Grace, this is Carlos's mom.
Carlos was 11 years old, from a single-parent home. His father was in prison. He'd been expelled from pub school for fighting, and no other school would accept him.
Can he come to your school?
Yes, he can.
How much is tuition?
There's no cost.
Then what do you ask for in return?
Just trust. The next day, Carlos stood at the garage door. He was tall for his age, half a head taller than me, with a guarded look in his eyes, like a stray cat ready to lash out at any moment.
He insulted my dad.
It's true your dad is in prison. People who insult him aren't worth fighting over. Prove you're better than him, not the same as him. He stared at me, and the sharp edge in his gaze slowly softened. The first thing he did when he walked in wasn't sit down. It was take the box of blocks in the corner and build a ship. Tyler still had his block castle standing. The 2 boys didn't say a word to each other, but their creations were already communicating. Alan's niece scored poorly on the midterm evaluation. Parents filed complaints saying she lacked teaching skills. The school board called Alan in for a meeting. He stayed home all day and didn't go out at all.
What's wrong with Dad?
He's going through a hard time.
Should we go visit him?
You can go if you want to. Benjamin took the bus alone to Alan's apartment and came back with a box of pizza.
Dad couldn't finish this, so he told me to bring it home for you.
I opened the box. The pizza was cold, but the cheese still stretched when I pulled a slice up.
Mom, will you and Dad get back together?
No, we won't. But we'll both still be good parents to you. He didn't fully understand, but he nodded anyway. Second Classroom got featured on the local TV news. It wasn't because of me. It was because one of the reporters was Emily's next-door neighbor.
What's the name of your school?
Second Classroom.
Not a shelter for troubled kids?
It's a place of acceptance. Those 2 words are nothing alike. It's a place of acceptance. Those 2 words are nothing alike. We don't do pity. We do respect. After the segment aired, my phone didn't stop ringing. Parents, teachers, reporters, everyone was calling. Some wanted to donate money, some wanted to volunteer, others wanted to enroll their children. I couldn't keep up with it all, so Margaret helped me answer calls. She wrote everything down in a notebook with messy handwriting, taking her time and never rushed. Small donations started coming in one after another, enough to buy a new whiteboard and books. I went to a used bookstore and bought 20 picture books for the kids. I walked home carrying the box of books and found a new bookshelf sitting inside the garage. That day, Tyler stood in front of the bookshelf for a long time, then pointed to the top shelf and said, "That one." I pulled it down for him. It was a picture book about dinosaurs. He couldn't read the sentences yet, but he could say the word dinosaur. His pronunciation was still fuzzy, but everyone knew exactly what he meant. Jake entered the city's writing contest.
She always has a smile on her face. She never yells, she's always row-washing, and she waits. Always has a smile on her face. She never yells, she's always row-washing, and she waits.
He wrote all about for us to grow up. He didn't win any prize in the contest, but the judges read his essay aloud to everyone in the audience. He was overcome with excitement. No, it was because he'd finally seen.
Is Dad becoming a politician?
Maybe. That single quiet response stung sharper than any sarcasm. Second Catherine moved into Margaret's bigger garage.
We've got plenty of space here for the kids to run around.
I can't stay here for free. How much is the rent?
No rent needed. Then we'll put it towards scholarship funds.
Not scholarships. Need-basis grants.
It's all the same thing.
On moving day, the kids lined up single foot, each carrying one book to the new garage classroom. Jake led the line with his old composition notebook tucked under his arm, and Tyler held onto his dinosaur book tightly. They walked together like a little train of children. Alan lost the school district board election. His opponent was a local parent whose child attended second classroom. During the campaign, his opponent brought me up. Anyone who pushed Ms. Grace out of her job doesn't deserve a seat on the school board.
Are you happy now, Grace?
Tyler's block tower grew taller and taller, so high he could barely reach the top piece. He stood on his tiptoes and carefully placed the final block on top.
Miss Grace, look.
His voice was soft, but it was the first full sentence he'd ever spoken voluntarily.
Tyler, you're growing up so fast.
Yep, I'm taller now.
Second classroom now had more than 15 students. I hired a part-time teacher named Kate. She used to teach in public school, but she came in for a trial lesson and read Charlotte's Web to the kids. She read slowly and kept pausing to make sure the kids understood the story. Second classroom received our first official large donation from an anonymous donor. It wasn't a huge sum, but it covered a full year's rent for the classroom space.
It might be Tyler's dad.
Tyler's dad was never around in person, but that anonymous donation took all the financial stress off Tyler's mom. The city named me Community Educator of the Year. The award ceremony was held in a large auditorium. I wore the blue dress Benjamin had picked out for me. He said it looked nice, and I trusted his taste. When I walked up to the stage to accept the award, the audience applauded. Alan sat in the very last row. He didn't clap. He just watched me quietly. Education isn't about filling a bucket. It's about lighting a fire. This fire was almost put out once, but all of you helped me keep it burning. Thank you. The audience burst into loud applause. Finally, Alan lifted his hands and clapped too.
Alan's father was hospitalized with a serious illness. He called and asked if Benjamin would visit his grandfather in the hospital.
He's still your grandpa. Will you go too, Mom?
I'll go if you want me to.
In the hospital room, Alan's father was thin and frail. He held my hand and said,
"You're a wonderful teacher."
"You're a wonderful teacher." Alan stood by the window, his back turned to all of us. I stared at the old man's profile. He'd been a school principal once too, strict, stubborn, unyielding. What had he taught Alan? Maybe how to wield power, how to stay silent, how to never admit you're wrong.
"Grace, I'm sorry. My son never deserved you."
Alan's father passed away. The funeral was held on a rainy day. Benjamin stood beside me holding an umbrella. Alan cried heavily, supported by the woman he was now seeing.
Dad's really sad.
He is.
Can I go comfort him?
Of course you can.
I didn't walk over. That was their moment, not mine. Second classroom turned 1 year old. Margaret baked a cake, and the kids pooled their pocket money to buy small gifts. Tyler gave me a Lego bird he'd built. It couldn't sing, a painting of me standing at the garage door with a rainbow behind me. She wrote on the painting, "Miss Grace is my rainbow." Jake gave me a short poem. "You are the acorn that fell on concrete ground, and still you bloomed." Benjamin started middle school. He chose second classroom for his community service hours, volunteering every Friday afternoon to teach the younger kids math.
Why do you come here to teach us?
Best at math himself, but he was patient. He explained things over and over again, never rushing the kids.
Because my mom taught me how.
Margaret passed away peacefully in her sleep. Her daughter came by with breakfast one morning and found her lying in bed, a small smile still on her face. She was holding a single rose, the first bloom from her garden that spring. The kids folded paper roses and left them in her garden.
At her funeral, I read aloud Jake's poem for her. Grandma Margaret wasn't our real grandma, but she sewed cushions for every chair so we wouldn't be cold in winter. Every spring, she'd point to that rose and say it was her old friend. Now her old friend has left us.
Grandma Margaret?
His voice was soft, but everyone at the funeral heard him clearly. Alan asked me to remarry him. He stood at my doorstep holding a bouquet of wild daisies. He stood at my doorstep holding a bouquet of wild daisies.
Grace, I don't know if I still love you, but I want to try again.
Alan, some scars heal over not because they don't hurt anymore, but because we don't want to touch the wound again. Go live your life peacefully. You can always see Benjamin whenever you want. This distance between us is enough. The second classroom has been designated as a demonstration site by relevant authorities. National media outlets came to film us for an entire day.
Ms. Grace, what do you consider your greatest accomplishment?
That they choose to come here every day. The interview aired on national television later on.
Dad cried while watching the interview.
He didn't just get misty-eyed, he wiped real tears away. Maybe it was tears of being moved or just tears of regret and bitterness. It didn't matter either way. What mattered was the kids were still here, safe and happy. Carlos earned his ambulance driver certification. He stood at the garage door in his uniform, tall and steady like a strong tree.
Ms. Grace, I want to be an emergency volunteer for second classroom.
You already know how to save lives now.
Saving people instead of fighting with my fists. Saving people instead of fighting with my fists. Dad, I'm learning to save people now. You should learn to do better too.
Emily's painting was selected for the city's children's art exhibition. Her painting depicted our garage classroom, the door wide open, sunlight streaming inside, every child busy doing what they loved. She named the painting Home.
Don't cry, Mom. This is the home I drew for us.
Her mom stood in front of the painting.
This is our real home.
Jake published his first short novel, self-printed in a small run of just a few dozen copies. He gave me a signed copy with a note on the inside cover. You taught me that handwriting doesn't have to be perfect, but every story deserves to be wonderful. His handwriting was still messy, but his story was truly amazing. I opened to the first page and read the opening line. There is a place in the world with an old door and patched-up chairs, but everyone who walks through it shines bright. Tyler enrolled in a mainstream inclusive classroom at a regular public school. Linda drove him to and from school every day. The worry lines on her face faded, and she came back and talked his Lego more than ever on my desk. The worry lines on her face faded, and she came back and talked his Lego more than ever on my desk.
Miss Grace, you keep this.
Aren't you taking it with you?
It will wait here for me whenever I come back.
I placed the Lego bird on the highest shelf of our bookshelf. Next to it sat Margaret's rose-carved chair, Emily's painting, Jake's poem, Carlos's old boxing gloves, and our worn American flag. It's just an ordinary spring day. I stand at the door of second classroom, watching the kids arrive one by one. Jake carries the draft of a new story. Emily holds her art sketchbook. And Sophia greets the new kids in clear English. Margaret's rose bushes are in full bloom. Carlos is teaching the new kids how to play beanbag thross. Benjamin sits inside the classroom helping the younger kids with math problems, explaining each step slowly over and over again. I take a deep breath. Sunlight filters through the tree branches, falling across our mix of old and new desks. The old flag on the wall still hangs there, its plastic casing faded with time.
We should replace it with a new one.
No need. Some things mean more when they're worn and old. Just like the children who were cast aside by the school system. They don't have fancy private school labels. They still blossom beautifully in the right here at the garage door beside the rose garden in every quiet dusk where someone is willing to kneel down and listen to them. Alan's car is parked across the street. He rolls down his window and waves Benjamin around. Benjamin runs across the street, and Alan hands him a paper bag filled with breakfast. I stare at his car and stay where I stand. He doesn't drive away. He sits in his car, watching every child walk into the classroom. I turn and walk back inside. Some words don't need to be spoken. Time will give all the answers eventually. Chalk dust still lingers in my garage. It will never fade away. Not ever. My name is Grace. I was once a teacher fired from her job. Now I'm the principal of a school born in a garage. Rose petals from the rose bushes land on the wooden classroom threshold at dawn, picked up gently by a passing child. Luna and her single mom have moved across 3 cities and got rejected by 2 public schools in a row.
I cannot understand the dense English in textbooks, and teachers always make me sit alone in the classroom corner.
Sophia kneels down and takes out leftover crumbs of the homemade tortillas Maria once brought for class.
Don't be scared. I couldn't speak a word of English when I first arrived here. We learned step by step with food and drawing. I couldn't speak a word of English when I first arrived here. We learned step by step with food and drawing.
These are spare supplies issued by the ambulance station last week. I split half of them for classroom emergencies.
Right after Carlos finishes speaking, an unfamiliar black sedan creeps to a curb stop, never seen in this neighborhood before. Not Alan's vehicle either. Grace frowns instinctively, a faint unease crawling over her without reason. A man dressed in a dark suit pushes open the classroom door and pulls out an official permit, local urban construction administration.
We received an anonymous complaint from nearby residents. This privately remoted garage operating as a school violates fire safety codes. You must shut down and relocate within 30 days.
Kate sets down her lesson planning notebook and stands up to negotiate. We rely on charitable donations, conduct annual fire and electrical inspections, and in every student's parents of our learning space voluntarily.
Official certification require a commercially zoned educational property. A residential garage is legally ineligible to run a school.
All children quietly pauses their schoolwork, and a heavy hush falls over the whole room.
Could someone who's always hated our school be behind this complaint? Could someone who's always hated our school be behind this complaint?
That evening, Alan drops off Benjamin's dinner as usual and accidentally spots everyone gathering around the closure. No worry. He picks up the official notice to read each quiz quality. His expressions darken gradually.
Having worked in the system for years, I know how these bureaucratic loopholes work.
No need for you to get involved. We will find our own solutions for second classroom's troubles.
I know you still hold on to past grievances, but if the closure goes through, these vulnerable kids end up with nowhere to study.
Dad, can you find out who filed the complaint?
Alan hesitates briefly, then nods his agreement, climbing into his car to investigate after leaving. Before passing away, Mom drafted a private will, donating full ownership of this house and its backyard vacant lot to second classroom free of charge. I flips through the aged notifies documents in shock, stunned by this unexpected generous inheritance. This empty yard is spacious enough to build a standardized simple school building and permanently fix our zoning and location compliance issues. My mother's final lifelong wish was for these unique children to have a steady, permanent place to learn. My mother's final lifelong wish was for these unique children to have a steady, permanent place to learn. The kids cheer loudly, and Tyler lifts his treasured Lego bird into the air to celebrate. But I still harbor lingering doubts. The anonymous complainant hiding in the shadows will not give up easily. After 3 days of investigation, Alan brings back crucial intel. Grace's replacement, the principal's niece, filed the anonymous complaint. Her teaching performance has stayed consistently poor since taking over Grace's old post. Countless students transferred to second classroom and a scheme to shut us down. She pulled strings with her family connections inside the construction bureau to exploit regulatory laws and target our garage location. Alan plays an audio recording proving her underhanded lobbying, his tone heavy with regret.
My selfish choices cost you your formal teaching job years ago, and I'm doing everything I can to make amends now.
I takes the USB drive holding the audio evidence and stays silent for a long stretch of time. Kate brings the property deed and complaint evidence to the urban construction office to appeal and overturn the unfair shutdown order. After officials verify the legal will and notified papers, they immediately cancel the 30-day relocation and close penalty. Grace's former placement receives official disciplinary note of school from gets malicious false reporting and nepotious abuse of power. Grace's former placement receives official disciplinary note of school from gets malicious false reporting and nepotious abuse of power.
Classrooms on the left, outdoor playground on the right, and Grandma Margaret's rose garden stays untouched right where it grows.
Jake jots a line beside the sketch. Hardship is never an ending, only the prelude to new growth and sprouting life. During pre-construction prep for the new campus, donations and volunteer construction workers pour in from across the region. George closes his cafe for half a day and brings kitchen supplies to cook free meals for all volunteer builders.
I gave you complimentary tiramisu when you were struggling financially years ago. Now it's my turn to give back to the whole school.
Carlos arranges shifts with his ambulance coworkers during their spare time to haul construction materials for free. Tyler guards the rose garden daily to stop construction scraps from damaging the blooming rose bushes. Unexpected heavy rain pours nonstop for 3 days, triggering partial water seepage damage to the freshly laid school foundation. Moisture ruins building materials and halts construction work temporarily, while our reserve funding is nearly exhausted. Grace drafts a fundraising appeal overnight, and Jake donates all copies of his self-published novel for charity sale to raise money. All proceeds from book sales go entirely toward buying waterproof supplies to fix the water-damaged foundation.
Your writing holds incredible warmth and heart. We plan to publish your novel nationwide through all retail channels.
Jake clutches the signed contract, eyes glistening with tears, and bows deeply toward Grace. Once the rain clears and sunshine returns, volunteers resume construction and finish all waterproof foundation repairs smoothly. 2 months later, our brand new single-story schoolhouse finishes construction with white walls and wooden windows bordering the flourishing rose garden. The original old garage is retired from daily classes and renovated into a dedicated student art and craft workshop instead. On opening day in the new building, dozens of former alumni come back to visit, with Tyler, now enrolled in mainstream public school, leading the visiting line.
I'll come back to take classes every school break.
By fall semester enrollment, second classroom has over 40 registered students. By fall semester enrollment, second classroom has over 40 registered students and 3 newly hired full-time volunteer teachers. One new faculty member is Carlos's recently released father, who earned an official teaching assist license after professional rehabilitation training.
I made terrible things in the past that hurt my son. I want to spend the rest of my life teaching to make up for my wrongs.
Now we save lives and teach side by side to protect our school together.
A state education inspection team visits for official licensing audits, observing live classes and inspecting our dining and activity facilities.
We will officially designate second classroom as a city-funded inclusive education site with steady annual government financial support.
As winter arrives, Jake's full-length novel hits nationwide bookstore shelves, with his first book signing hosted right inside our school. Hundreds of readers, education influencers, and local reporters pack the small campus for the event. Jake gifts his first autographed copy directly to Grace with the inscription, "A sudden seasonal flu outbreak spreads across the surrounding neighborhood, leaving multiple students with fevers and congestion. Carlos's volunteer first aid team stations at the school around the clock to check temperatures, sanitize classrooms, and teach kids disease prevention basics. Carlos's dad brews traditional herbal cold remedies from family recipes and distributes warm medicinal tea to every enrolled child, fragile from chronic poor health since early childhood. Luna falls sick first, and Sophia stays up all night beside her bedside to care for her. Within a week, all students fully recover, without a single severe flu case developing. Alan receives an official improvement notice from his former elementary school, ordered to bring in specialized inclusive education support due to years of declining teaching standards. After school board deliberation, board members visit me in person to request teacher exchanges and joint inclusive class partnerships with second classroom.
We hope to leverage your proven inclusive education expertise to fix our gaps in differentiated learning support.
After an overnight as a two-way consideration, Kate and Carlos's dad will travel to their campus weekly for joint teaching shifts. Parents of all students are invited to visit campus and attend trial classes during the annual school open house. Tyler's mom, Linda, quits her overnight nursing shift to take our campus caregiver job, staying full-time to look after students' daily needs. No more rushing between night shifts and school drop-offs. I get to raise my boy in the place we both love. Emily's mom donates surplus hospital-grade art supplies to stock our school's art classroom. Jake's mom sets up a homemade snack stall for open house, giving back with the cooking skills that once kept her family afloat. An outverse Chinese educator reads Jake's published novel and flies back from abroad to study our school's education model. With over 30 years of global inclusive education experience, she proposes an international charity partnership to supply imported books and exchange volunteer teachers. Sophia works as our student bilingual translator, bridging communication between visiting foreign educators with English and Spanish. Thanks to foreign teacher lessons, Luna's English improves drastically. She volunteers to read a full short essay aloud for the very first time. I former replacement resources after half a year in hiding. Her revengeful complaint wasn't self-motivated but manipulated by a third party. The school's original investor planned to buy Margaret's property cheaply and manipulated the niece into filing the shutdown complaint to force land sale. When the land was donated to our school instead of being sold, the investor retaliated by slashing funding for Alan's former public school to create financial stress. After realizing she was manipulated, the niece arrives at our school with bank transfer evidence to confess all the investor's illegal schemes. I submit financial proof to the Education Bureau and Market Regulation Authorities to launch a formal investigation against the corrupt investors. After investor faces heavy land fines and full restructuring of all their education-related business. Having learned her lesson, the former teacher earns an early childhood certification and volunteers as a student assistant to make amends. I was blinded by greed before. From now on, I'll dedicate myself to teaching vulnerable kids honestly. As summer arrives, our school receives official approval for free summer care programs open to all underprivileged local children citywide. Among new summer enrollees is withdrawn young Leo, whose migrant worker parents are gone most of the year, leaving him isolated and nonverbal. Tyler notices Leo's deep passion for block building and invites him daily to construct a massive block city together with classmates.
This is our home. This is our home.
Now a high school student, Benjamin forms a teen volunteer tutoring team on weekends to coach our younger pupils in core comics. He works with me to design game-based learning activities that break down high school math and science into kid-friendly crafts and play. Alan drops in unannounced to watch his son teach from the back of the room, jotting down lesson ideas with obvious paternal pride. After class, father and son sit on a rose garden bench chatting, healing years of lingering emotional rift between them. Our school hosts the city's annual Inclusive Education Summit in fall, welcoming over 100 professional educators from across the region for campus tours. Grace delivers a keynote speech detailing her 17-year teaching career and garage-to-school journey, earning repeated standing ovations from attendees.
As distinguished alumni speaker, Jake announces on stage his second full-length novel is nearly finished for publication. Tyler, Emily, Sophia, and Carlos each take turns sharing their personal growth journeys.
Annie finds an unopened handwritten letter from late Margaret while sorting belongings, revealing long-hidden past secrets. Decades earlier, young Margaret lost her husband and job and nearly became homeless, saved by former school principal's generous support.